You're listening to the Geriatric Mamas Podcast with Jessica Raziri
and Sonia Tapley. Hey mamas! Today we're talking about the documentary on Hulu by Impact Nightline called Switch Before Birth, which tells the heartbreaking stories of fertility patients who gave birth to babies that were not genetically theirs due to IVF mix-ups. These incidents have sparked national conversations about the checks and balances in place within fertility treatments and the profound emotional and legal questions that arise when things don't go as planned. Enjoy and please subscribe.
Mamas, I love a full and silky texture in my face creams because they feel so healing and comforting to my dry, thirsty skin. Well, the award-winning, best-selling, lightweight moisture release water cream by Honest Beauty called Hydrogel Cream refreshes and cools my skin on application and leaves a dewy finish. As I mentioned on the Hope-isode, Kathy's story, I love mixing Hydrogel Cream into my foundation for a healthy-looking glow. Infused with jojoba and squalene to help hydrate and soothe thirst, plus 2 sizes of hyaluronic acid to help soften and firm, reducing the appearance of fine lines. Honest Beauty's Hydrogel Cream will provide a beautiful glow for very dry skin. We're leaving the link below in our show notes. Drink up, mamas.
Mamas, I want to have rosé all day, have fun, and let myself live a little without feeling drunk or feeling hungover the next day. So I treat myself by adding rosé tinted glasses to my sparkling water or lemonade. If you're like me and you're looking for calm daytime energy while feeling alert, present, and uplifted because, well, you know, you're a mom now. Adaptogenic and antioxidant-rich ingredients make rosé tinted glasses from Apothecary great for those battling feelings of stress and looking to curb signs of aging with improved skin tone and moisture. Its tincture format makes it easy to drop wherever you're making it. It's perfect for busy working moms, busy stay-at-home moms who are looking for mood and energy support on the go. We're leaving a link below and in our show notes. So cheers, mamas!
Speaking of blocking it out.
Oh my God.
So Sonia had well, first of all, welcome everybody to this week's episode of Geriatric Mamas.
Mm-hmm.
We are on, technically it should be episode 88, but because of a technical glitch, it is episode 87. And we were just reminiscing about a realization Sonia finally came to last night.
I had some help.
Yeah.
But like 2 margaritas in, I'm talking to you and we realize I'm talking a little bit loud and you're like, Sonia, you're like yelling. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And you're like, no, you really are. We were talking about how I needed to have some truffle fries and we were trying to find out from like the bartenders where we could get some truffle fries real quick. And as we were leaving said bar, 2 guys who were literally all the way across the bar, like on the opposite end, which was pretty far away, they go, we hope you guys get those truffle fries at Luna or whatever.
And the thing is, too, is I told you this in Salem with the serial killer dude. I was like, you think you're being quiet, but you're not being quiet. He's literally watching us right now. He can hear everything you're saying. It's like there's literally 2 versions of Sonia. It's like when we need to hear your beautiful voice with recording, it's like, hi guys, welcome to this week's episode of Geriatric Mamas. This week we're going to be talking about da-da-da-da-da. And it's like I'm having to turn your end all the way up. But then you put a margarita in this bitch in a bar, and she's just like over here like, oh my God, guess what? We should go get some truffle fries. Hey, that dude over there behind me, don't look, but he looks like a serial killer. Oh, do you want to go get some truffle fries? Let's go to this place. It's just oh my God.
What a mess. So if they could hear us, if these people across the room could hear us talking, and by us I basically just mean we.
Oh man.
Then everyone else heard us because everyone else was much closer.
Everybody heard. I think the bar next to us heard.
And it's funny because when we got there, I was so appalled by these really loud individuals who were sitting next to us. I'm like, really? It's like
Oh,
8 p.m. Why are we this loud right now?
We were so loud. We were so, like, all of Old Port knew that we were on the hunt for some truffle fries.
Seriously,
like, everywhere we went.
People were helping us find
People
them.
were partying. They were making a path for us. Like, truffle fries are that way.
Yeah.
As we were just walking. So you're like, here they are. They're looking for their truffle fries.
And you know what's funny? I didn't care.
I didn't either.
I thought it was great.
Me too.
But then I woke up this morning and I was like, why was I such an idiot?
It's so good. But, like, also it's like, tell me we're a couple of basic white bitches without telling me we're a couple of basic white bitches.
Why
Mama's night out, and, like, all we care about is going to find some truffle fries.
And why is it that there's only one place in the Old Port that you can get any kind of fries?
I mean, but they were, like, those fries slapped. Like, they were delish, I will tell you.
Oh, good. I'm glad you told me.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You don't know? You're not sure? You're not
probably
sure?
ate like 2.
Let's like have you toss back a couple margaritas, and then I'm sure you'll remember just how delish they were. They were really good. What was that place called?
Mash Tun.
Mash Tun.
Mash Tun.
Mash Tun.
And then our driver on the way home was saying how they're famous for their burgers and they're so good.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, oh, we had no idea. We just needed the fries.
Yeah, we just cared about the fries. It's so good. Oh my gosh. In true Jessica fashion, this is like my signature move every time.
Mm-hmm.
I literally shut the Uber door, get ready to get like in my car to go, and I'm like, I don't have my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what? I'm like, I definitely left it in the Uber. She's like, no. The guy literally, we see his taillights. Like he literally just left.
It was like slow motion. I was trying to I didn't know if I should be jumping out of the car to chase him or if I should be calling him, and I couldn't get his number up to call him. It just wasn't working.
But she finally did. And he was like, he had like the thickest Maine accent ever. I can't even like do it. We were like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure we left our cell phone in the car. Oh yeah? You sure? We were like, yeah, it's in the back seat. And he's like, hang on. Hang on. And he like turns around. He's like, oh yeah, here it is. An iPhone? We're like, yeah. He's like, all right, I'll be right there. We're like, okay, thanks. He had this like giant red beard.
Yeah.
And it was funny because it was like the app showed a photo of him and Sonia was just like, okay, so we're looking for a red beard. And he pulls up, she's like, is it a red beard? And I'm talking about screaming. I literally was like, yep, it's a red beard. And he just like starts laughing. He's just like, Jesus. He's like, yeah, he's like, that's how people are.
That's how people refer to me.
That's how people refer to me. Is
we are such
red beard
dicks.
We're just like,
who raised us and then let us out into the wild?
Yeah. I just don't understand how we've made it this far in life.
I don't know
to be quite honest with you.
I don't know either.
And we're left responsible for raising tiny humans.
I feel like if Mike were out with us, he would have reeled us in about 1,000 times. He would have been like,
would he though, or would he have just picked his phone up and took a Sideways video?
It could go either way because he's a Gemini, but he's also a Pisces moon. So I don't know. It could go either way. Who knows? However, he probably would have been like, do you have to be so loud?
Yeah.
I feel like he probably would have been like...
I just love that I'm finally validated because, like, I have said this to you. I was like, you're not as quiet as you think you're being. Like, you are being, like, people can hear you. And then it's like these two guys legit, like, far across the bar, word for word,
they
knew
were
exactly what was going on.
Like, oh, I hope you find your truffle fries at Luna on the rooftop. And we're like,
what?
How did you know about that? Oh,
that sucks for us. That's cool. That's really embarrassing.
Yeah.
From all the other things we were probably saying.
Yeah.
So cool. Glad you could be a part of that conversation.
Right. Glad
gentlemen.
you were enlightened. So Annabelle came down with a double ear infection last week. She graduated to a different level of swim again, which ultimately just means she spends a lot more time underwater as opposed to on top of the water. And so that's all fine and good. But double ear infection, she's on antibiotics, and we discovered the last time we had something going on with her that she needed antibiotics, that when she's on them for like the however many set days that she's supposed to be on them, she starts turning into a crazy person because it messes with like your gut bacteria and your body's ability to like really like handle things. Like for tiny children, it can mess with like their mood big time. And she's going through it right now. Like, she woke up yelling at me this morning. And, like, good thing I had already, like, read a bunch of things that, like, a bunch of RuPaul quotes from, like, master class, because
so you were already mentally prepared to be tortured.
I was like, oh, if she wakes up this morning and she's in a bad mood like she was yesterday because of those medications, I'm just gonna go with it. I'm gonna roll with it.
Yeah.
And so, like, she wakes up and she's like, I want my Bubba! And I was like, oh, okay, Mike, I need some backup. She's already crazy. And then our cat Martin came in the room. I'm like, Martin, you don't want to come over here. You don't want to see this. It's a mess.
Yeah.
And she just, like, you could hear her start giggling.
Like, she thought it was funny.
Yeah.
That's a good way of doing it, because you're spinning it into being, like, a playful, funny thing. It's like, okay, you're frustrated, but laugh at yourself, because this is hilarious.
Like, this is hilarious, honey. This is maybe a bit much. We're going to make something out of it, but...
Earaches are the worst. I never really got earaches when I was younger. I got them when I was older, which is weird. Yeah. And, like, so, like, getting them as, like, I remember being in high school getting earaches, and you remember that. So it's like just knowing how badly that felt. I don't know if it's, like, worse when you're older or not, but I want to, like, hope that it is, because what I felt when I was getting earaches was, it's just awful. It's like legit headaches, like the worst migraine you could think of in your ears. Right. It's awful.
It's really bad. I remember them. I had them a lot when I was really little, and I can still remember how bad it was. Yeah, I know. My mom used to, like, bring us to work and just put us in one of the hospital beds for the day, make sure, like, we got our antibiotics or whatever, and then, you know, we'd be all right. But yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, but she's good now. She's not in pain. She just still has, like, 2 more days left on this stuff that's making her into, like, a tiny serial killer. So bad.
Well, speaking of tiny serial killer, so yesterday it's such a crazy segue, but it truly is a tiny serial killer, I'm pretty sure. So yesterday I took Hayden to the play lot, you know, because it's been, like, rainy and kind of drizzly and not cute outside. And so he's stir crazy. Take him to the play lot. And there really weren't, like, a lot of kids there. There was, like, a birthday party, but, like, it was kind of a sad birthday party. There really wasn't, like, many people. I know. But it worked out for us because the whole place was, like, pretty clear. But there's this one small boy in particular. He was probably, like, 5 or 6 years old. And he was just, like, he was so annoying. He was like this tiny little lunatic, I swear. Like, he would not leave Hayden and I alone. He kept, like, distracting me. So I'd be trying to, like, catch Hayden on the slide. And this big slide is, like, it shoots the kids out like crazy. Fast. So you have to catch him because he's going to get hurt. And he kept distracting me in the moment where I'm trying to catch Hayden, like, to the point where I would almost, like, miss him or whatever. And it'd be, like, so frustrating. Like, can you please? He, like, kept coming over trying to take toys away from Hayden. And then, of course, Hayden, who already doesn't understand the whole concept of sharing or playing with others yet, like, would just go off. And it was awful. There was one point where Hayden went to, it was because he thought the little boy was going to take his toy again. And so Hayden goes and pushes the boy to get away from him. Well, then the boy stands up and, like, goes to, like, shove Hayden back. And I, like, stop him middle of that. And I was like, please don't do that. Well, he hit me first. I'm like, he's 2.
Right. He didn't.
Like, are you kidding?
He didn't do a whole lot.
Get the hell out of here. Right. And so, like, he wasn't just, I was, like, watching him. I had no idea where his mother was. I was just watching him, and he was literally terrorizing all of, like, the other, like, mother and child duos. Like, it was so annoying. You could see all the moms being like, what is going on? Can somebody get your child? And so now fast forward probably, like, 45 minutes later, all of a sudden I hear said, like, feral child, probably tiny serial killer, start bawling his eyes out, screaming, crying. And then this other mother was like, whose child is this? Whose child is this? And I was like, oh, good. He's finally getting in trouble. And then his mother comes out of the woodworks, wherever she was. And then I hear this other woman go, that little girl over there hit him in the head with this block first of all, it was a foam block. So
Yeah.
I highly doubt it really hurt as badly as he's like screaming.
Dying.
And she's just like, she hit him. And literally it just fell out of my mouth. I couldn't control it. And I was like, I mean, he probably deserved it. Like it legit came out. Yeah. And I see in the corner of my eyes, like the other moms are just like agreeing, like nodding their head, like, yeah, I mean, he probably deserved it. Because like based on like what he had been doing. And I'm just like, I like look at my brother, I was like, okay, I'm about to throw down with a couple like kids and like toddler. I think it's time for me to go.
Yeah, you've had your fill.
I need to go.
Yeah, it's so frustrating though when kids latch onto you and you don't know them, they're not your kids.
Yeah,
you're not there with them, and you don't know where their parents are or their guardian, and you're just like trying to protect your child.
Yeah,
because I feel like it's always like the older kids.
It is,
and is it that like neglect or something?
I don't know, but it was like it was to the point where after that moment, I was looking around and I realized like Hayden was the youngest one there, and like he's legit like a baby playing around like all these like older kids, and it was just getting a little rough. And that's when I'm just like, before I end up like hurting a child, like I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
So
it's almost like in a controlled environment like that, it's almost like the facility kind of needs to have like an extra staff member there so that they can be in charge of finding people's parents in situations like that. I mean, nothing against them, because I'm sure it was like a busy day and there was like a lot going on.
And like we were talking about this yesterday, you know, I think there is a balance. It's not like I'm expecting the mom to be like helicoptering and hovering and watching her child's every move. Kids are going to be kids, and I get it. But it's like, you know, Hayden, he's 2. He isn't necessarily around a lot of kids all the time. He is learning about the whole sharing thing. And he would literally go over and he was like taking toys from other kids. And I was following right behind him. I was like, no, we don't take that. And I was giving the toy back to the kids. And I was trying to like mediate as much as I can. It's like the fact that you're not even paying attention enough to see what your child is doing, to at least like have a conversation with them, interject and be like, hey, you're being a little rough, or hey, why don't you go play over here instead? I don't think you need to be in their space. Like something like to just literally go to those types of places and just let your child be feral AF and like think it's okay to not. I can't.
Their little tiny brains aren't fully developed until they're 25 years old. It's, It's one thing to like trust them, but then you have to verify. Yeah. No matter what age, until they're 25.
Yeah. Oh, right.
I mean, I guess 18 is the legal age of just like going off on your own.
I know. I learned from Mel Robbins that it was like your something cortex isn't developed until 25. So like all of like your decisions that you've made before the age, because and like people think about like, well, I'm not the same person I was at 23 as I was at 25. It's like you weren't. You're not. No. You're actually scientifically not. Right. And it's different from being like, you know, 17 to 19. You're still kind of the same person, but something happens after the age of 25 that just kind of clicks, and you're suddenly like more aware of consequences. You're thinking things through a little bit more rationally. Right. Like the choices I made before 25. Yeah. Man.
And like, imagine if that little boy accidentally did do something because he wasn't being parented properly. Yeah. That poor kid has to like live with themselves. Yeah. You know, and it's not their fault. I mean, anything can happen. Anything.
It's not his fault. He's a little asshole.
It's not. But where's the mother?
Where's the mother?
We're not judging at all.
Oh, I am judging. I'm sorry. Yeah. That pissed me off so much. I can't. Well, on today's episode, we'll just move along. I feel like that conversation's taking a turn for violence. We'll just move along. Today we're talking about the documentary on Hulu by Impact X Nightline called Switch Before Birth, which tells the heartbreaking stories of fertility patients who give birth to babies that were not genetically theirs due to IVF mix-ups. Holy fucked up. These incidents have sparked national conversations about the checks and balances in place within fertility treatments and the profound emotional and legal questions that arise when things don't go as planned.
Yeah. We're going to get into it.
I was legit crying
Yeah.
when I watched it. I saw this, was it like last weekend or was it like a weekday? I don't even know. But
Yeah.
I just put it on as like background stuff and I was legit like sobbing at a few parts. And that's when I texted Sonia. I was like, okay, I have this week's episode figured out. This is like...
Yeah. It's beyond devastating. I don't know. So in the documentary, there's one single woman who had always wanted to be a mom. Like, literally, her mom was like, what do you want to do with your life? And she was like, I want to be a mom. And she's like, okay, but what do you want to do with your life?
She's like, I just told you.
I want to be a mom. So anyway, long story short, she ends up choosing a sperm donor because she's, single. Did IVF. The doctor transferred someone else's embryo, and she ended up having to give her baby to his biological parents. Yeah. And then there's this second family on there who already had a daughter and wanted to give her a sibling. They wanted to expand their family. They tried for years and then finally got pregnant via IVF. But when the baby was born and a little time had passed, it was clear that she was of Asian descent and the family was white. So I cried through that one like pretty hard because it's both sets of parents are like grieving a loss, but then also happy because they're getting their biological child. And then you have this little girl who's losing her sister.
Yeah.
And then gaining another sister.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's so young and emotionally processing all of that.
Yeah, that's the one. I mean, they both got me, but that's the one that really got me as well, too, is because they showed all the videos and like the photos of like her playing dress up with her new baby sister and how much she loved her so much and caring for this child and taking them in and then just like
she was so in love with her sister.
They would just be gutted.
Yeah.
Absolutely gutted. The first story, so I know we saw on Instagram a few weeks ago was when it was just going viral, the first story of the mother who gave birth and through like a sperm donor. And the credentials that she picked out was her sperm donor was a white man and he had like certain characteristics. And then when the baby was born, he was an African.
He was black. Yeah.
Yeah, African-American child. Yeah. And so it was just like very obvious that it was there was something going on.
Mistake.
And the reporter that was like asking her, like, what was your first, thought? She's just like, well, my immediate thought when I saw him is like, he's beautiful and I love him and I get to take him home and love on him. And she was just like so in love with this beautiful baby. Right. And one of the parts of that story that really like got me choked up, and it's even choked up like thinking about it or talking about it now, is when the news reporter was just like, so if this was reversed, like let's say like you were that family and this happened to you, would you fight to get the baby come back? And she was just like, no, I wouldn't have him leave. She's like, I wouldn't pull him from the only family that he's known. And the reporter's like, why? She's like, because I'm a mother and that's what a mother does. And I love him too much. I wouldn't. And she even opted to not have contact with him because she doesn't want to confuse him. Yeah. And the reporter's like, that was a very motherly thing to do. She's like, I know, it's because I'm his mother. And like, it's just like, I just wanted to like hug that woman. Yeah. It was like,
right. I know, and she doesn't fault them for taking him. Like she's
not
like,
at all.
I completely understand,
right? Yeah,
but having been through that herself, she's like, I'm not.
And she carries his little sock with her in her purse as like a little reminder that like he was there. Did they say? Oh yeah, she is going through. She's gonna go through the process of IVF again, but through a different, obviously a different clinic. But
it's so sad and like. For the baby, who, like she said, she was the only family he had known, and he was basically just like ripped out of his mother's arms. Yeah, I mean, not actually.
She had him for like what, 4 or 5 months. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're already starting to show their little personalities. They're feeling your face. They're learning your reactions. They're starting to mimic your expressions. They're starting to like. Yeah. And then for the second story with like the one that had like the sister. So that one, It's sad, but it's also beautiful how
Mhm.
they've all worked together to navigate that, because
Right.
basically the two families have merged together and they
Mhm.
basically are like, okay, we're just a new modern family.
Yeah.
Like, we want to have all the girls grow up together as sisters.
Mhm.
And so they like will all have play dates together. And they were saying that there was awkward moments where it was like when one of the babies needed to be changed, it's like, which mother's going to change them?
Right.
Like, are you going to change? Am I going to change? And it's just,
Yeah.
oh my God.
I know.
I can't.
Can't imagine. Like, they have like the different names for like each mom and, you know, all of that. It would just be, God, it's like an entirely different way of life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it is beautiful.
It is. And it truly is, though. I feel like, I mean, if it wasn't before, it is now. But I feel like a fear that like IVF patients or people that are considering to do sperm donor and stuff like that have.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably are going to have that fear for sure now that this is like being exposed as being a thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, because when I first saw the first story, I didn't realize that just how often this happens. Right. And of course, all the clinics can be like, this is an isolated incident. This isn't like a normal thing. But when you actually start researching, you found another.
Yeah, there's
another story.
Oh, yeah. So there's this woman who decided that she wanted to be a surrogate because she understood that, you know, obviously there's so many women who can't have their own child, but no woman should be denied their ability to be a mom. And she felt very passionately about it. She became a surrogate. She became pregnant with her intended parents' child. It was confirmed it was their child. And then there were 2 babies in there and not 1. And so the doctor was like, oh, you know, it's very rare that this could happen, but it seems that the embryo has split and now there's twins.
Yeah.
So that would mean that they were identical twins. Because when an embryo splits, that's how you get identical twins. It's very rare. But that's what they thought happened. And then the babies came out and they were kind of like, one was definitely a little bit lighter than the other. It wasn't like he was full on African American, but he was definitely a different color, which would mean that they weren't identical.
Right.
And so the surrogate had her doubts. Like, she was wondering what's going on. And they ended up testing their DNA. And it was her and her husband's biological child.
So, like, okay, this stuff is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because I always had the belief that when you're pregnant, you can't get pregnant again.
Yeah.
So she was already pregnant.
Was pregnant with the intended parent's child, and then she ovulated, which is like 1 in like millions of chances of actually
to be ovulating while you're pregnant.
Right. Like, for most of the time, you're never going to ovulate. Like, most women will never have that happen, but it's like 1 in several million chances that would happen. And obviously,
wow,
it happened.
So, like, and you just sent this to me before I came here. I didn't have a chance to fully like see the whole story and how it unfolded, but did she take one baby and they took the other?
She ended up taking her baby back. Yeah.
Oh,
and they were like, they were okay with it. I don't think they were ever, like, they had only transferred 1 embryo.
Right. So they were always mentally prepared for 1.
Right. Yeah. So.
My gosh.
Hey mamas, are you someone who's 35 plus and struggled with fertility, endured a miscarriage, experienced heartbreaking fostering or adoption challenges, or were perhaps flat out told by a doctor that you will never conceive naturally, and despite the odds, eventually found your happy ending by becoming a mama?
Send us your story at geriatricmamas.com. We would love to feature your journey to motherhood on a future Geriatric Mamas episode. There's that other movie on Prime where it's like, it's based on a true story. And this woman got pregnant with twin boys. And one of the boys was accidentally, the embryo came from an egg donor. And it wasn't her embryo. It was someone else's embryo entirely. And they put 2 embryos in, and she got pregnant with what they thought, again, was twins, but it was someone else's embryo, and it happened to be her friend's embryo. It's a story on Amazon Prime, that's based on a true story. And I think if that ever happened to us, we would just like get a giant house.
Yeah, we were like, all right, I guess we're raising these babies together. Like, we're not splitting them up. So,
we would just, husbands and all, we would just be like, let's raise these
let's
kids.
get this like giant house and just you take a wing, I'll take a wing, and we're just gonna meet together for dinners.
Because
we'll
clearly
figure
they
this out.
both wanted children.
Yeah.
Because they both had embryos. So isn't that crazy though?
It is so crazy.
So I've only gotten through the first like 60 seconds of the movie, but I saw the trailer.
You know where my mind goes with all of these like weird stories of like it's a 1 in a million and this doesn't happen and this doesn't happen. Combining this with all of our recent conversations about past lives and like you choose your family, you choose like whatever. It almost makes you wonder if I'm picturing in this like other world where it's like the spirits are kind of looking like, okay, well, now's your chance. She's pregnant now. You want to get in there, you got to get in there now.
Right.
And so then like all of a sudden that's why it's like a fluke, like, whee! Here I am. Like, oh, the spirit just kind of jumps right in. And
it's crazy because on the documentary, the first one that we mentioned with like the daughter, and like she mentioned that like the two girls who were switched embryos are like basically soulmates. They're like best friends. They're like, they have this sisterly bond.
Yeah.
And she was like, it's like they're soulmates.
They were meant to be together always. So that's how it had to happen.
Right.
That is so crazy. It's a beautiful spin on something so fucked up and like heartbreaking.
Right. It really is. I can't imagine. And like the dad, one thing that made me choke up too was like the dad, he's such an amazing dad, but he was like, he was so in love with the baby that was born from his wife, even though they had their doubts. Mm-hmm. But when he calls her by her name that was given by her biological mom, he has a hard time getting it out. He loves both of the girls, obviously, but when he tries to say her name, like he almost calls her by the name that they had named her. Yeah. And it's like, that's hard to watch.
Yeah.
It's like, that was
I wonder if there's a way to like have the child have two names. Like, that's your nickname from this. I don't know. That's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
This isn't like the same at all, but you just reminded me of it when you were talking about the love from the father. And I saw this reel on Instagram, and this mother had she passed away at birth or something like that, and her heart was donated to a man, and the baby was constantly crying, and like nobody could get the baby to like stop crying. And it was like, watch what happens when the baby hears the mother's heartbeat for the first time. I'm gonna cry. And like you see the baby like actually in his father's arms, his actual father's arms. And while he's like content, he's still kind of restless. And then they put the baby in the grandmother's arms. They put the baby in his like aunt's arms and like friends or whatever. And then it's this complete stranger. And the baby at first is like crying, but then you see him literally put his ear to the heart, and then like he just closes his eyes and he just nestles down and he just like falls asleep.
Oh my God.
I know.
Is so crazy.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. So it was just like the most beautiful thing, because it's like, you know.
Yeah.
But that actually kind of goes with last week's episode when we were talking about like they need to be on you, we're the baby or whatever. But yeah, I don't know, for some reason it's just like reminding me of this. But it was a really beautiful video that has nothing to do with today's topic, but it's fine.
Babies are bonded to their families.
Yeah.
No, that's really sweet. That's crazy. I hadn't heard of that. But they say that like with past life, we're gonna keep going on past lives here.
Let's do it.
They say that like for past lives, like obviously we don't know like who our quote unquote spirit family is, or our soul family. We don't know who they are. Like they could literally just be someone who you make eye contact with for a blip, and like you might feel something or like whatever. But
I'm laughing because like you mentioned that to me last night. Where you're like, it could just be making eye contact, and that is like all you were intended to do in this lifetime with that person. And ever since you said that to me as I'm driving over here, I was like making eye contact with people in cars here. And I was like, but like people that weren't making eye contact back, I was like, oh, you weren't meant to like make eye contact with me, like some weirdo. Like
my fear, because I have always had like this, I'm not a Cancer, but it's like this is a very like Cancer astrological trait, but I've always had like this, I don't know, like this weird attachment to like people, like their symbolism, and like, and so then it's like knowing that you could just make eye contact with this person and not no, because in this lifetime, you're not supposed to.
Right.
But it's like, are you going to feel something?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be like, oh, like, I know, are you going to have a familiarity with that person?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you going to just make eye contact and, like, go about your day as if nothing, like, without even any indication that happened? And that bothers me because I, like, have, like, a weird emotional attachment to, like, who people are and what they're supposed to be.
What's the point? Like, why was I intended to just look at your eyes and that's it? I don't get it.
And there's this, I don't remember what it's on, if it's on Netflix or Hulu, but there's this show that popped up in my Google search when I was looking for something on past lives, and there's a movie called Past Lives, and it's like based off of this girl who came from North Korea and moved to America, and I guess in North Korea this is just like common knowledge, like past lives and souls and soul family and soul partners is all this like actual like a part of like life in North Korea. So while I didn't tell you about it after I watched it, now like after like the past couple weeks I feel like it's more relevant because like it's not a huge part of the movie, like it's a part of the end of the movie, but like the things that they say kind of have come up. So I think it's for anybody who's interested in like past lives and like soul families or anything like that, definitely look up the movie Past Lives and just watch it.
I am like so fascinated by all that stuff.
Yeah. And this is a fictional, it's like an actual fictional movie.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like, it's still cute.
It is. I love it. I love it. There's this, and I know we talked about it when in our actual Past Lives episode, but there's this Netflix show that it keeps coming up in my feed. It's like, you may also like, I'm like, and I forget every time that I've already seen it, but it's like the first 1 or 2 episodes are the ones that like I like because they talk about like the past lives and they all have like the same stories and it's crazy. They don't know each other. And then it goes into like other weird shit that I'm just like, okay, get out of here.
Is it too much?
It's a little much.
Yeah.
But like there's this one lady that she's like, it's like I'm like embarrassed for her, like I have secondhand embarrassment, but she is claiming to be this like psychic medium and that she's like the spirit comes into her, and whenever she like is going off talking about the spirit coming in, she takes on these like different voices and it's so cringe. Like do you know what I'm talking about? She's just like, she's like, oh, I'm here, and like, who's here now? It's like, oh, it's Donnie, my name's Donnie, and you're like, oh my god. And she's this old lady and she's doing all these voices and you're just like, ew, like get out of here. So that's where it just loses me and I'm like, this is just gross. But the first 2 episodes, it talks about, I think it's called like After Death or something like that, but it talks about like past lives and it has like some really cool stories about it. Yeah. Like there's this one lady that she's an avid kayaker and then something happened and she took like a wrong turn or something like that. And she realized that she was going to be going down this like waterfall and she's just like, oh shit, like that's not going to be good for me.
This isn't going to be great.
This isn't going to be good for me. It's not going to end well. And so she goes down and she said that she literally all of a sudden she like felt herself rising up out of the water and then she could look down and she saw the kayak and then she was fully submerged in the water and she could see her husband and the crew all looking for her body, and she had been down there for like a while. Like we're talking like 15-20 minutes. Like there's no way you survive that. And finally she watched one of the guys like see an arm and then she watched them like pull her up and she watched her husband like screaming at her to wake up and everything. And then she said that there was like a bright white light and everything was just so beautiful and she was reunited with her like spirit family. And she just had this feeling of, while she wanted to like be back with her husband and her body, she also had this feeling of not like, she felt happy and safe and didn't want to leave necessarily. And one of the spirits, I guess, she kept this with her really deep. She didn't share this to anybody, but one of the spirits told her that her youngest son was going to die. And she's like something, she just remembers at like 18, like he wasn't going to make it past his 18th birthday or something was going to happen when he was 18. She didn't really know, but she was told this and she's just like, why him? And I don't remember what they said for the answer or whatever, but then she like she hears her husband's voice is getting more clear. And then all of a sudden she comes to and she wakes up and everybody looks so shocked that she's awake because of like how long she'd been submerged or whatever. And so she goes 18 years. Well, basically at this point, I think her son was 6 at the time. So do the math. I'm not a mather. We've established this. But so all these years go by, and finally, you know, she has to live with this. She's carrying this like in the back of her head. She deliberately never even said anything to her son. She didn't tell her husband. She didn't say anything because she didn't want to like put it out there, right?
Yeah.
So she kept it in. It's just like, oh, whatever. And then her son turns 18, and she was just like all nervous, like, you know, like, but he was fine. Like nothing happened. He was great. He had a great birthday. Everything was fine. Like weeks, she waited like weeks go by, you know, everything's okay. So then she felt safe enough to like share with him. So she tells him that happened. He's just like, God, like what the hell, Mom? Like, you know, don't tell me that. And so then now fast forward like a few months later, it's like 6 months later or whatever. He was involved in like, I think it was like a horrible car accident or something. Like I think he got hit by a drunk driver or something and like died instantly on impact.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's just so crazy. Yeah. But they all have the story of watching themselves. They can look down, they could see their body, but then they're also feeling loved and like safe. They all see a bright white light. They all see all of like their family, their spirit connections. And it's just the fact that she had that message. And then could you imagine like going all those years in the back of your mind thinking your child is going to die? Like, what the fuck? Like, I can't.
No, I can't. It's just too much.
And then to have it happen.
Yeah.
Was there something I could have done?
Right.
No, there wasn't.
Because no. I mean, she literally told him, which was a lot. You know? Yeah. And it's like, there's just, there's so many things that just happen in the blink of an eye and nobody has any control over it. Like, did you see that car going in the wrong direction on 295 and hit a tractor trailer truck?
No.
Yeah, this happened like last week. He was an 86-year-old man in like a little tiny Toyota Previa or whatever, or what, a Prius. Yeah. He was in a Prius and he is driving the wrong way on the highway and hits a tractor trailer. Goes right through the tractor trailer.
Well, yeah, that car is like a little Polly Pocket Matchbox car. Like,
have you seen that? Oh my God, I almost sent you a picture. I'm not talking about this. I've like, my brain just moved on when you said it's a Polly Pocket car. But the other day, I almost took a picture of this car that was next to me on the road because it's like this tiny little bubble. It's like a new BMW model. Oh, God. And it's like a bubble.
What are people trying to prove with these tiny little...
It was as big as our microphone.
That is ridiculous.
And I almost sent a picture, but I was like...
It's like they're just straight out from the circus.
Yeah.
Like, I bet there's like a bunch of clowns inside of it.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It was another little old man.
But what about this old man? Did he...
He died.
He did die.
Yeah, he died instantly. Like, the road was shut down from like... I don't know, whatever time in the early morning until way into the afternoon.
I thought this was going to be like a past life story. Like he was going to come up and say like, well, maybe I saw my body.
Maybe that was him in the bubble car.
Maybe. He came back. Let me try this again. Oh my God, that's horrible.
Sorry, we are going to hell.
I am like, this is so dark.
Kate, don't get mad, but I'm going to tell her to cut it. And then she might not cut it.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to cut that. Especially since you said that. I'm definitely not cutting it. But we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, before we get darker.
Let's see. We've talked about throwing down on children. We talked about little old men dying. We've making a joke of it.
We're continuing on with past lives because we just can't stop.
We just can't. Can't stop, won't stop. Get it. Okay, I think we've had enough. Thank you for listening. Be sure to tune in next week. Your support is keeping the podcast going. You can help by following, subscribing, rating, reviewing, and especially by telling a friend to listen anywhere or watch on YouTube.
For more info, you can check out our website at geriatricmamas.com. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at geriatric_mamas, on YouTube at geriatric mamas, Twitter at Geriatric Mamas, and follow our group page on Facebook at Geriatric Mamas.
If you have a topic idea you'd like us to discuss, are interested in being a guest, or simply have a funny geriatric story to tell, you can go to geriatricmamas.com and hit be a guest or send us your story.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, Lord have mercy. They hated us. Are you kidding? They fucking hated us.
We do not have truffle fries.
We do not have truffle fries.
Get out of here. Scram.
Fuck you for asking about truffle fries.
No more chips for you either.
No.
Get out of here. Hey, mamas.
Hey, mamas. Hey, mamas.
Oh, God. Here we go. Hey, mamas. What was that?
Hey, mamas. Here's my tit. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Sorry. I'll shut up. I'll put her away. She's not cute.
She ended up choosing a sperm donor.
A sperm donor. It's a discount sperm donor. Skip to like the 15-minute mark if you want to just get right into it.
Or if you want to hear about our night out, then you can just listen to that instead.
Yeah. And if you don't, then why are you listening? I'll cut that. Bye-bye.